Adventures or humor told in story form, well, this is the right channel for you. In this story, I owe probably about close to 350 people a sincere apology. And I just don't know how to apologize to that many people. I think it'd be impossible to get a hold of them all. But anyway, that's the way it goes. If you have stories of your own that you'd like to have told on this channel, email them to me at CDWanny@yahoo.com and we'll get them up here and you can get your stories told also. Just send me an email. Before we get started, I got to give you my pitch. If you enjoyed this channel, please subscribe. If you like the stories that are being told, be sure and hit the like button. And hit the bell if you'd like to be notified when other stories become available. So with that being said, let's get on with the story. Well, this story, my wife and I had taken, oh good golly, one of my sons was missing, so it was my son, his fiance, and my daughter to the Dominican Republic for vacation. This vacation was kind of a big deal. We had scraped and saved to be able to do this for a long time. And I was still in the deep, dark depths of my alcoholism at this point, and as the story will show very clearly. But anyway, we had been putting together this trip for a long time, so it was very important that everything go off smooth. Unfortunately, it did not, and that is all because of me, 110%. We got to the airport, and there's so many facets to this story, but when we first got there, my wife is a real penny pincher, and so Squirrel is going up to check our bags in, and she finds out how much luggage costs to be checked, and so she starts moving stuff around and trying to create carry-ons for everybody. Not everybody had a carry-on, and we had ways of making it happen to make carry-ons. So my wife is shuffling all this around, and I'll get back to that in a few minutes. But like I say, this story goes very circular. So we get in line, and we're going through TSA. And I had been drinking a lot prior to this. And I do not like flying. I absolutely hate flying. And back in those days, my solution to this problem was to get good and liquored up before I got on the airplane, sleep the entire flight, then hopefully wake up when we get to where we're going and the flight would be of no consequence. So as we're standing in line at the TSA, I happen to notice there's a pilot behind me. So I start chatting up the pilot. You know, it's like, well, golly, where'd you learn to fly? Oh, you were in the Air Force? So was I. Well, where'd you do your time at in the Air Force? Ah, that's really interesting. You learned at this base. Well, I was at that base. And we're just having this, what I presume to be a pleasant conversation. He was probably like, oh man, how can I get this drunken idiot away from me? But anyway, we go through the TSA. And we finally get up, and she checks my tickets, and the kids have already gotten through there, and so has my wife, and she's got her carry-on. And the kids are already headed toward the little jetway that you go to get on the plane. And the last thing I say before I go to TSA, jokingly, because to me everything was a big joke, I said, hey, keep an eye on this guy behind me. I think he's been drinking. Ha 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 ha. Man, I tell you what, when I said I think this guy's been drinking, the hounds of hell at the airport unleashed on me. There was another pilot behind that pilot. He yanked us both out of line, me and the pilot. He called over security. I've got security backing me up against a wall at this point. My wife sees what's going on, and she's like, oh man, what has he done now? The kids see what's going on, and they go, oh man, Dad's being Dad again. So they jam. They just get out of there, get on the plane. You know, if I make it, I make it. If I don't, I don't. They're not really caring at this point. They're just not going to let Dad screw up their vacation. And you know what? I don't blame them one bit. I was an alcoholic jerk, and I brought this kind of stuff down on myself all the time. So anyway, we get yanked out, and before I know it, they want my ID, they've got me in handcuffs, my wife is trying to get through, Now I'm going to back up to her carry-on. I used to carry about a 3.5 inch buck knife on my waist at all times. And I used it at work all the time, and it was just a normal part of my apparel. But even being the drunk that I was, I don't take the knife on an airplane. I got that much sense. So I put it in the checked luggage. Well, while my wife is going through all this, the knife accidentally winds up in her carry-on. So I'm over here getting jacked up by the police. They go through her carry-on, they find a knife, so they got her over here emptying it, and she's in just a huge state of severely irritated with me at this point, to say the least. But anyway, the pilot behind the pilot that I jokingly accused of drinking, he yanked that pilot from service. And this is where it gets into so many people that I need to apologize for, because that pilot was about to fly a plane somewhere with about 350 passengers on the plane, who now, because of this guy, aren't going anywhere until they can get a new pilot on the plane. And things are just going sideways in a hurry. I'm still in handcuffs. By now, they've smelled the alcohol on me. They know I'm drunk. They're telling me whatever I want to hear. Yes, sir, you're going to make your flight, no problem. And in the meanwhile, they're going, get this jerk out of here. Meanwhile, while my wife was getting jacked up, and they immediately pull me out of line, and then they tell me, sir, you're not getting on this plane tonight. You're too intoxicated, and we're putting you on a 24-hour no-fly list. And I'm feeling like a terrorist at this point. I'm like, I didn't do anything. And they keep going, sir, quit using profanity. And I'm just talking really loud, and I'm carrying on. I didn't do anything. I was just making a damn joke, sir, using profanity again. I'm not using blah, blah, blah profanity. And things are just getting out of control. And then to add insult onto injury, they inform my wife that I cannot leave the airport of my own accord. If I leave the airport of my own accord, I'm going to jail. And so someone has to take me home, and then we can come back the next day, get on a plane, and go to the Dominican Republic. At this point, my wife and I had been married, I think, about 18 years. And in 18 years, I was pretty sure that I had seen every single level of pissed that she could muster. I was wrong. This went to whole new levels. So the kids, they don't even care. They're gone. They're on the plane. They're flying off to Dominican with us. That my daughter at the time, she was probably about 14 or 15. My older son was like 18 or 19, something like that. I don't know. Somewhere in that age group. So they were definitely old enough to get on the plane and get there by themselves, but we had all the money. We were paying for this trip, so God only knows what they were going to do when they got there. But anyway, so my wife takes me out to a cab. Once the cab stops, I'm about to get in the cab. That's when they finally took the handcuffs off me. And we got in the cab and took a very, very long, quiet, silent ride home. So we get home, and she just unleashes fury on me like I had never heard before. My wife does not swear often, but that night she made up words I had never heard before. And the next day we went back to the airport. And my wife, she told me, you don't look at anybody, you don't talk to anybody, you keep your mouth shut. If someone speaks to you, refer to me. And so, okay, so we're going through TSA again, and this guy behind me taps me on the shoulder. I was wearing this Indiana Jones kind of leatherish hat. And he goes, hey, that's a really nice hat. And I tap my wife on the shoulder, and she goes, and I go, sorry, dude. But anyway, we finally got on the plane, got down to Dominican Republic, and believe it or not, there's more to this story. When we got there, I I was unable to sleep because of my work schedule. I used to, when I was delivery driving, I would get up, at some ungodly hour like 3 o'clock, and now I just couldn't change my sleep schedule. So at about 2 o'clock in the morning, I walk down to the beach, and I'm just walking along the beach trying to occupy myself because I can't sleep. And I come walking back, because I walked probably about 300 yards down the beach. And I come walking back up the beach, and I go back onto the resort. And at 2 o'clock in the morning, this guy jumps out of the bushes with a shotgun, and he jacks it and points it at my face and starts screaming at me in Spanish. And I don't speak any Spanish. He doesn't, he speaks extremely minimal English. And he's screaming at me, and I'm screaming at him. And finally, from my pocket, I produce a key card. And he goes, "Oh, senor, you're a guest." And I go, "Uh-huh." And he goes, "Well, come on, I'll escort you back onto the property. I thought you were one of the locals trying to sleep or sneak on." And I said, "Uh-huh. Can I walk down to the beach first?" And he goes, "Why? When do you need to go to the beach?" He goes, "Well, I got some pee on my sandals." And he thought that was the funniest thing he ever heard. And word spread, of course, through the resort staff that I had pissed myself on the beach. And everybody on the staff, from the rest of the time we were there, the bartenders, the service people, and everybody that had heard the story, they'd walk by me and they go, "Hola, Senor Pipi." And so, oh man, that was our trip to Jamaica. It was a weird one. But we had a great time. We were there without incident. The rest of the time was utterly fantastic, other than getting third-degree burns my first day. But it was a really good time. Anyway, that's my story for tonight. Thanks for watching. Bye.